G'day everyone, this is Andrew Price here from BlenderGuru.com and welcome to a two-part tutorial series where I'm going to be showing you how to recreate the hallway scene from the movie Inception. Now if you haven't seen Inception yet, I won't spoil it for you, but I highly recommend you go and see it. It's a great movie. But there's an excellent scene in the movie where there's a character and he's fighting off these bad guys in a hallway. And he's in a dream and the gravity of the hallway keeps changing. So as the characters are fighting, they're flipping around and going upwards and downwards, side to side. And it sort of became like an icon scene for the film because it just blew everybody away. Visual effects nerds were puzzled as to how they went about doing this, and it was just overall just a really awesome scene. And in fact, I was reading comments on a website, and some people were saying that actually after they saw this scene at the movie, everybody in the cinema applauded and started clapping just purely because it was just awesome. And so yes, that's why I thought I'd do a tutorial on it. Now, this is the finished result that you're looking at right now here. Now, this is going to be a fairly in-depth tutorial, so that's why I'm splitting it up over two parts. This video will show you how to do the modeling side of things, so we're just going to be focusing entirely on that. And then in the second part, we're going to be doing the materials, lighting, compositing as well. Now, throughout the tutorial, we're going to be referencing this image here, which is directly from the movie, I think, or maybe just like a promo shot or something. This is the finished scene, which I created in Blender. So as you can see, pretty close to the original, at least anyway. Now, just to give you an idea of what the scene is made up of, first of all, so the hallway, although it looks quite complex, you might think it looks incredibly time-consuming, and you're wondering how I'm just going to fit it in two videos. We're going to be using a lot of arrays, okay? Now, arrays basically mean that you can model one small segment and then just duplicate it all throughout the rest of the scene. So as you can see here, I've only really modeled this tiny little portion here of the hallway, and then it's just made up the rest of it. And that's basically what we're going to be doing for virtually every other object in the hallway. And yeah, so this video, like I said, is going to be all about the modeling, and then the second tutorial, which I'll upload next week, will be the lighting and the materials. So let's start by opening up a new scene in Blender. Alright, now the first thing we're going to do is load in our reference image. Now this is an image that you can get off BlenderGuru.com. If you're looking at it on the website, you should see a link for it. We're going to be referencing this image extensively throughout both tutorials, so it's important that you have it readily available. Now the first thing that we're going to be modeling from this image are the hallway walls. Now it's probably the most complicated thing to model in this tutorial, but it does make up the biggest portion of the scene, so that's why we're going to start with it. Now it does look a bit daunting when you first look at it. It looks a little bit crazy and a little bit hard, so don't be put off by it. It is pretty simple. In fact, all we need to do is model this portion right here where my mouse is. Now if we model just that one small portion there, we can then use an array modifier to stack it 4 times vertically, and then another array modifier to duplicate it as many times as we need across the horizontal axis, which will just create the hallway. So it's pretty easy. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the default cube and replace it with a plane, and it's put it over there for some reason. I'm now just going to rotate it by 90 degrees, like so. Now this plane right here, if I just zoom in here, this plane that I'm looking at here is going to become this portion of that wall, okay? That little brown sort of segment there, okay? So if I now extrude that edge like that, that's now created that edge right there, okay? So I'm just going to create another extrusion on the other side there, and then another one there like that. Okay, now the array modifier should do the rest of it, in the stacking it and putting it across. I'm now just going to add a few details, mainly being this sort of crack, sort of, I don't know what you call it, like an indent, where it's just a line. So to do that, what I'm going to do is just selecting that top row of vertices there. I'm just going to extrude it. I'm going to scale it inwards, like so. And you do have to do a little bit of fiddling around because the dimensions aren't right. on each of these points. Okay, pretty good. Take that row of vertices again, extrude it upwards, like so. Extrude it again, and then scale it outwards. Now it's important to have these vertices lining up. So what I mean by that is I might just make this full screen so we can actually see what we're doing. I mean by that is it's important to have that vertice there lining up with that vertice underneath it. Okay, because otherwise, when you do the array modifier, what it will try to do is it'll try to merge the vertices that are lined up with each other. Now, if there's nothing that's lined up, then it's not going to be able to merge it very well. Now, that won't create too much of a problem in this particular scene, but it's important to get into that right habit of, you know, making a nice clean mesh so that you can edit it later and things like that. Also, if you're doing an animation, if you have overlapping vertices, then it can flicker and things like that, so you don't want that. I'm now just going to take both of those rows and just sort of scale it along the z-axis slightly. Okay, now what I'm going to do, let's just move that across so we can see what we're doing. Get rid of that. I'm going to go to the modifier stacker, and I'm going to add an array modifier. Okay, by default it puts it on the x-axis. I'm going to change that to the y. Okay, and increase that count to 4. Now, as you can see, it's very quickly just created the 4 wall panels going up the wall. Okay, so now that we've got that, what I'm going to do is just add in that sort of that beige yellow kind of divider, like that column there. So going back to our object here, go back into edit mode. Now it's important that you are in edit mode, because otherwise it's going to add it as a separate object, which you don't want. I'm just going to add a cube. Going to remove some of these unwanted edges here just to sort of clean it up a bit, like so, because obviously that side over here, that's not going to be showing to the camera, so it's not needed. Okay, like that. And it's also important to, of course, have it lining up right, like this. So this needs to be flush with the rest of it, with these the rest of the object, I mean. Scaling it down, we have that. And now, if you go over here to the array modifier, if you click merge, you can see that this just over here you see something slightly change. That's just where the vertices are now merging. So that's what I meant when I said it's important to have everything lining upright. Okay, so that's all good. I'm just going to move things around slightly just to change the proportions of this this wall. Now it looks like it would be, you know, fairly right. Because of the way this photo is taken and the angle that it's on, it looks like, you know, that would be the right scale. But if you had a look at the video before, you'll notice that these are actually quite long, like a couple of meters long, each of those brown segments. So I'm just going to go ahead now, take that row of vertices there, drag it across, maybe move this beige column across as well, and maybe make that a little bit longer as well. Okay, so we've now got one of those segments, like so. So now all we need to do is just add another array modifier. I'm just going to make that -1 just so it's along the whoa, what did I do? No, I changed the wrong one. Hang on, make sure you change the settings for the right array. Okay, and now when you increase that count, that's just going to be the length of your hallway, essentially. Pretty cool. Okay, now we've got one wall. We obviously need to create one on the other side. Now you could duplicate it, sort of rotate it, flip it around if you wanted to. The problem with that is then if you make a change to this wall over here, you then have to make a change to that one over there unless you link the two. It gets a little bit complicated. Easiest thing to do is to use a mirror modifier. Okay, so go ahead and add a mirror modifier, and you can see the settings down here. The main settings to focus on is the axes. We're going to try to mirror it on the z-axis. I think that's the right one. Always depends on which way the model is rotated around. If you go into the edit mode now, select all the vertices and then move it along the y-axis. and you can see that when you move it, it increases and decreases the space between the two walls. Okay, and now obviously if you make a change over here, it's now going to make a change on that part. So as you can see, by having this really efficient setup of two arrays and a mirror, things like that, it allows you to just have one small portion which you can make a change on, and it's then going to replicate those portions across the entire mesh. So that's very important for larger scenes and things like that. Time saving, it's all very important, so it's best to get into that sort of habit. Alright, now what we're going to do is move the camera into position. So if we go to the front view and you press Control Alt 0, it'll snap the camera to that view right there. Okay, and I'm just going to move everything, just place it above that grid floor there. I don't like it when things pass through the floor. I'm a little bit ACD about that. Is ACD the right word? What is it? ADD? I don't know. Attention deficit disorder. There you go. ADD. Alright, now what I'm going to do is create the ceiling. Okay, so if you have a look at this picture, it's a little bit hard because this guy's blocking a lot of the view, but each of these segments here have one of these light fixtures in place directly above it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go right here, and I'm going to add a plane. Okay, and I'm going to place it just on that side of the of that little origin point. In fact, actually, what I might do, I might just see if this works. I think I did it differently for my final scene, but I think this will work. If I just go here and add a plane, enable clipping under the mirror section right here, and that'll allow you to push the vertices together like so. And what I'm going to do is yeah, just basically use the mirror modifier to save more time and use it for the ceiling as well. So that should be interesting if that works. Okay, and I've got nope, that is not going to work at all. I'm just going to press P, move that to a selected object, and remove that array. Okay, alright, I thought I could possibly get away with doing that, but that obviously hasn't worked because it's just going to replicate it 4 times upwards as well. But okay, we've got the arrays in place now, so that's good. What I'm going to do is just create a loop cut here, like that. And so you've got 2 points there. You can increase the loop cuts, by the way, just by scaling with the mouse wheel. Another loop cut along here, like so. And then you just grab those 4 vertices and then extrude them upwards along the Z axis, like so. So you've now got an object like this. Ooh, like that. Okay, now going back to our camera view here, I'm now going to position it so that it's in line with where it is in this image. So I'm going to rotate it like so, move it forward. Also what I'm going to do is increase the focal length of this camera. I'm going to go ahead and increase that to 60. Now the reason for that is I had a look at the making of the this hallway scene. Like, I rented the Blu-ray DVD of Inception and checked out how they made this, and they actually made like a full-scale model of the hallway, which was on like this massive industrial rotating thing. So they rotated this building around. But anyway, the hallway was incredibly long. So this photo was actually taken a really, really long way away, which means that this the focal length of the camera was quite zoomed in order to get it that you know, at that perspective. So that's why I've increased it to 60. I mean, that's my rough guess, and you know, for my test, I think it worked out, you know, quite on par with what it is. So that's why I'm using 60. Okay, now it's just a matter of just positioning things so that it's in line with the camera. It's always one of the most frustrating parts of if you're recreating something from life. Or a photo, is getting the perspectives and the camera all lined up right, and oftentimes your model isn't right. You're not sure if it's the model or if it's the camera, and you have to go back and forth. You know, my best advice is to not get too anal about it. Just try and get it as best lined up as possible, and you know, don't lose any sleep over it if it's not perfect. So yeah, okay, so that's yeah, that's pretty good, I guess. So as you can see here in the photo, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pillars, and over here I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I can actually zoom this camera in a little bit to about roughly there, I think. Okay, pretty good. Alright, so now we've got the ceiling, we've got the 2 side-by-side walls like so. I'm going to go ahead and save this because it's been incredibly unstable recently. And as you can see, my little key press thing has just decided to turn off. I'm going to go ahead and turn that back on. Okay, there you go. It's a little script which makes the key presses display on there, so it's easier for you guys. Okay, now what I'm going to do is create the floor. This is the most easiest part, of course. I'm just adding a plane, and I'm just going to scale it along there like so. Fairly simple. Now I'm not sure where it is, yeah, but you'll have this sort of edge ridge there of where the wall is. So just make sure that your ceiling or floor, whichever way it's done, is just slightly cutting it off so you don't get that ugly sort of line there. It probably wouldn't look that ugly if it was showing, because I think a lot of modern day buildings do have a little line at the top anyway. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so that's all in place. Now what we need to do is create this this end segment right here. So as you can at the back here, you can see you've got the main actor. I forget what his name is. What is it? It's Gordon something Levitt. I don't know. I forget it now. But behind him, you've got these elevated doors, and then these 4 wooden panels. So it's fairly easy to create that. What I'm going to do is take, where is it? Come on. This segment right here. Shift D, press escape, then P, and you select that object, and then in the modifier go ahead and turn off, I think, the middle array. Yep, that'll do it, and leave the mirror, okay, and the other array. Okay, so now if I rotate that, you'll see what I've done. Again, you can see I'm saving time by using that mirror array there, so it's on the way it should be. Okay, scaling it inwards. Okay, so that's obviously just created those 4 little panels there, and I'm just going to make this a little bit more flush. Okay, pretty good. And now I'm going to create the elevator, which is fairly simple. Just going to create a plane, rotate it, and I'm going to move it on that side of that origin point there. Push it like that, and I'm going to push it back past that wall there, because obviously elevators have a little indent. In fact, the first time I modeled the scene, I thought that was kind of like a solid metal pillar or something which was sticking out of the wall, just because the perspectives look a little bit warped. But then my girlfriend said there's an elevator button thing over there, so that's an elevator, and then it finally all clicked for me. So so it's indented. Keep a note of that. Just gonna extrude that upwards and then across like so. I'm gonna hide the ceiling so we can see what it looks like. Okay, I'm going to add a mirror like so, and I'm just going to take that edge sort of edge of vertices there, and to create that sort of line where the elevated doors are, just going to extrude it like that, and just until they're touching like so. Okay, now I'm just going to take that row of vertices there and just push it all the way to the top. Pretty simple. Okay, so now most of the scene is all laid out. It's all ready to go. All we need to model now are the lights themselves. So you can see we've got these lampshades that are on the wall, and this huge sort of light fitting on the ceiling, as well as these tiny little down lights as well. So we're going to go ahead and add them now. Almost coming up to 20 minutes into the tutorial. In fact, probably longer than 20 minutes. I've got that little intro bit. I'm going to go ahead with the easiest one. I'm going to create those little light fittings on the ceiling or the floor, if you're going by the way the camera's looking. So I'm going to go here. Actually, I'm going to just apply the mirror, okay, so that now I can just add a cylinder like so. I'm going to turn off cap ends. Now the beauty of having if you have a look at the actual photo here, I'm sure that the actual light itself is quite complex inside, and there'll be lots of things you'd have to model. But because it's so overexposed and blown out, all we need to do is just model that cylinder, that little lampshade there, and then that little, I don't know, UFO disc thing on the outside as well. And that's essentially it. Because, like I said, we're just trying to recreate the photo. We're not going for, ultra, up close realism kind of thing. We're just recreating the photo, so keep it simple. And there is a problem. I thought I might run into a problem. I need to enable smooth shading, and actually, okay, well that's worked. I thought it was going to enable smooth shading on the ceiling plane as well, but that's kind of worked. All right, that's good. I'm now going to duplicate that cylinder. Actually, no. I'm going to add another cylinder because I want to have it with capped ends. So like that. I'm going to scale it down. So this is obviously, I'm creating that little UFO disc there. So to about that size. With the Z-axis in. I might just create a little loop cut here, just for a little bit more realism. Like so. Okay, so now we've got roughly, you should have roughly that image. And okay, now the ceiling has now all become smooth as well. I thought something like this might happen. I don't know why it didn't before. The edge split should fix that roughly. There you go. Okay, I think it's all fixed now. Brilliant, awesome. Alright, so now what we're going to do is model the lampshades that are on the wall. These little pink lampy things with metal things. That's the right description for them. So I'm going to go ahead over here just on the side so it's out of the way, and I'm going to add a cylinder. Now the base of this is this entire object is just made up of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cylinders. So probably one of the most simplest things that you could ever make in Blender. I could really just leave you guys to do this to yourself, but it's a tutorial, so I've got to do everything because otherwise I'm a bad tutor. Alright, so I'm just basically forming the shape of the shade. Sometimes I don't know what to say, when these like modeling bits and I'm moving stuff about. So I just ramble on, as you can obviously tell. Okay, so this is the this main beam that's going up here, like that. And I might just add just a little bit of detail on the end here, like that. Really detailed, as you can see. And like so, and I'm going to create one more cylinder, and this is going to be the main lamp shade, okay, like so. And I'm going to turn off capped ends so it's see-through like that, and position it about here, like that. Might just need to scale it down. Whatever looks right for you should be okay. Alright, so now we're just going to select all of those objects like that. Press Ctrl J, then hit smooth shading on the side there. Add an edge split modifier so you don't get weird shading results. Set the split angle to 60 because sometimes cylinders have like a sharp edge there for some reason. And that should be it. That's fine now. So, now all I need to do, save it, scale it down like so, and then just line it up with one of these beige columns here. Alright. Now I might just hide the ceiling again so it's out of the way. Line it up like so. and you'll notice that these lamps are in line with the second panel going up the wall, so that's why I've put it there. And I'm going to scale it down. I think maybe the shade is slightly a bit too big. If you select one vertice and then press Control L, it'll then select just you know, every vertice connected to that. So that's just a quick way of selecting, you know, one object like that. It's a little tip. Okay, alright, save it now. And now I would say go ahead and then just, you know, shift and then select that and then press Control J, whatever, and join them, and that would work. However, later on in the tutorial we're going to be adding materials to this lampshade, which do get a little bit complicated if it's added directly to this wall. So I'm going to go ahead and add another array. Okay, and I'm just going to line it up manually. Now you can do this, it's not a problem. You don't have to have everything the same object. It's just a matter of, it's just a little bit fiddly if you have different arrays, that's all. But, you know, it does work. It's not that big of a deal. Also, actually a quick tip, if you've got something and you want it to be complete mirrored on the other side, so for example this one here, I want it mirrored exactly on that wall over there. If you select this object here, these two walls, press Shift S, cursor to selected, so it's on that origin point, then select this object, and there's that bird outside you can hear, and then press Control Shift Alt C, and then press origin to 3D cursor. It then changes the origin point of that at the same origin point as the wall. So now if I add a mirror like so, you've now got it exactly at the point on the other wall. You don't need to do anything, and it's all lined up. Okay, perfect. Alright, so that is that's almost the end of the tutorial. For my final scene, you'll notice, if you have a look around this image here, you'll notice a couple of extra things that I haven't modeled. For my final scene I added them in. It's really up to you if you want to add them, but you've got these picture frames here. I modeled them and threw them in. You've also got like little wall panels, an elevator panel there on the wall. I won't show you how to model them in the tutorial because it's not essential. I want to keep it fairly brief, but it's a little bit of homework for you guys. You know, you've got a week till the next tutorial is posted where I'll be showing you the materials and lighting. So go ahead and you know, model a few extra things in here. You've also got this little scuff mark along the bottom, just to stop, you know, people with their shoe marks getting on the edge of the wall. So that's like a little metal strip along all the walls. So go ahead and add that in if you're bored. And yeah, that pretty much concludes this tutorial. In 1 week time, I'm then going to put up the part 2, which is the lighting, materials, and compositing. So until then, thanks for watching, and stay tuned.